It was in a gym class. I don't remember what it was. We were both in front of the mirror doing something like for gym, and just making a comment. First of all, saying a comment about, oh, I'm not as dark as you. You're darker than me. You're darky, da da da. And then just kind of thinking to myself, like, the blink, 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 like looking in the mirror, like. I was like, is this what I'm seeing? Because I'm looking in the mirror and it's like we literally look the exact same skin tone. Like we have the same skin tone. Like it was just so bizarre to me because.
Right, welcome back to In the Midst podcast. I'm Kia.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're so excited to have you all back to join us for episode 5. So just a reminder before we get started, follow us on Instagram at In the Midst Pod, and also we can be found anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And if you're down for the antics, follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel because we like to have fun.
Yeah,
we like to have fun. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll get into it. So today we're going to be talking about insecurities and preferences.
Yes.
And I feel like not as of late, it's always been lingering, but as of late, there's been a lot of hype and buzz around like preferences and dating. And there isn't anything necessarily wrong with having preferences, but today we're going to be discussing preferences and how they look at when they're birthed, dependent on the environment that you're raised in, like where we live, who we see in relationships around us, our culture, and honestly, insecurities sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Debbie, so hashtag WMBW, eh? Kidding.
Oh, man, don't look up the hashtag. That's hilarious. Okay, so yeah, I'll specifically be sharing my own personal, like my experience with how my own insecurities, how they developed, and how my insecurities essentially fueled my preferences, and how I essentially realized this. And how I recognized I needed to do the work to make a healthy change in my life.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first realize that you had a preference, and like how did this preference develop?
Yeah. So we talked about in a previous episode, I think in maybe episode 1, where Kia grew up in a multicultural city and then moved to and then moved here while I grew up in the city, which is like an hour outside of Toronto, KW, and basically growing up in this city, in elementary school and middle school, being like one of the only black kids in school. I remember very clearly in elementary school being me and my one brother being one of the only black kids. It was me and him, and then there was these 2 brothers as well who were the other black kids. So basically like 4 black kids in the whole school at that time. And so I say this because I think, like, I truly believe that the city you grew up in can kind of help develop the kind of people that you come to know and understand, and the crushes you may have, and I think it just also shapes the way you perceive yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the world around you. So yeah. Obviously being one of few black kids in the school, and then also remembering during Black History Month, February, Black History Month, always how awkward it was when we were younger, whenever the teacher would talk about the Underground Railroad or our slavery, all the kids kind of doing the, peer back at you. They do the awkward peer back at you.
Yeah.
And I would just remember feeling so uncomfortable, just like, oh, like, why are you looking at me? Just feeling really, really awkward.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, I just kind of just tried to live my life, not really let those things kind of get to me, make friends, and just have fun, essentially. Like, not trying to let those things affect me. And I mean, it's not like there weren't instances, here and there of, blatant racism or anything. I think I may have mentioned in one of the episodes how a friend had said, me, her, and another guy, we were just talking, and I don't remember how it was brought up, but he was asking a question, and she basically said, oh, it's because she's an N-word. And this was someone who I considered a really close friend, and I think we were maybe in grade 6 or something. I remember just being so shocked, and just being so shocked that she would say something like that. And again, I say this just like little things that, that kind of you internalize or you kind of take in and just are like, that's very interesting that someone is saying that, right? whether it's a joke or not. Like that's not a joke.
That's not a joke.
That's just disgusting.
That's knuck if you buck.
Yeah.
But also 12 and like
yes, very young, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until I got to high school where I met a lot more black friends, right? So elementary, middle school, not many at all. I mean, there was a little bit of, and don't get me wrong, it's not like it was completely just a lot of white kids. Like, there were some other races, but barely anyone that looked like me. Barely, like if any. So it was high school where we got to see a lot more people that looked like us. But this was also a toxic era of light skin versus dark skin in high school all the time.
Like I'm cringing inwardly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of making these jokes, jokes. But honestly, it was just toxic. Like saying, like, you know, making a comment like, "Oh, you're so dark, da 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 da," or "You're so light, da da da," like just making all kinds of stupid comments but like joking about it. And like the high school mentality is like you have to just roll with the punches and you have to make sure you have a good comeback, a good rebuttal there, you know. And you just have to diss that person right back and you know make light of it. But again, you're internalizing these things because it's like why are our skin tones being like why are we
pitted against each other?
Why are we pitted against each other even if it's a joke?
It's not a joke. Like, we're literally the same people. Like, we're literally the same people.
Yeah.
And we're out here dividing ourselves
jokingly.
And then you just what do we sprinkle on there? A heifer?
A heifer. Ooh, that was the word. Always be like, yeah, whatever, but you're a heifer. You a heifer. All the time. All the time.
Heifer was the word of
2009. Oh, yeah. High school lunch. Heifer was said at least 10 times at lunch alone. At least 10 times. Oh, heifer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
And let me just even interject here.
Yeah, please.
If we're still doing team light skin versus team dark skin in this year 2022, honestly, I'm praying that God will deliver you from your proverbial plantation. Like, I pray that your shackles are loosed in Jesus' name because enough is enough.
No, we say a little prayer for you.
Is embarrassing?
For all, no, honestly, it's. We're saying this passionately because there is so much internalized hatred that can come from that. So much. Because even when you're young and you're in high school, you start to think, well, why is it light skin versus dark skin? Like, and again, coming from someone where I was in an area where there were, like, previous schools, there weren't any black kids, really, to where there's more, but now we're against each other. Right. Jokingly, we're having fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're all those people that we've made those comments, still cool and friends, but it's whatever to this day. It's not like you're holding a grudge, but it's just interesting that that's what society is, you know. Yeah. Like, where's that coming from? It's being placed in the mind somewhere. Yeah. I remember like hearing things about like, oh, music videos or this and that, like preferences and, you know, having light skin, you know, just all kinds of things and just kind of internalizing those kinds of things, you know?
And I remember, sorry, even to interject, like, please, around that time, like, because like I said, I also had the same like middle school experience as you, as being like the only black person, like being one of the only black people. Yes. So like when I came to high school, like my mom hated all that type of rhetoric. So then when I came to high school and that was going on, I would be like, this is so whack. Yeah. But like it was just all around us. Yeah. It literally was all around us, pit against each other, your friends, but like it's low key, like in joking fashion, like
but then you go home thinking it's like, whack. Is there something like, I wish I didn't look like this. Wow. You know, like you start kind of internalizing this and taking it negatively. You know. So yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah. So continue. What did high school look like for you then?
Yeah, like more into high school. So, you know, like I was saying, like crushes in high school were typically towards guys from other races. And again, I think mainly that was just because initially that was because of what I was surrounded by and what I knew. Because I remember in middle school having like a little 1 week boyfriend and just liking him. He wasn't, like I said, we were black kids. He was a white guy, and it was just because he was a nice guy. We were friends. We played soccer together. Like it was whatever. So it wasn't based off of preferences at this point. It was just based off of it naturally happening. But then getting into high school, it was a bit of that. But then also the beginning of realizing that I wasn't the black guys at high school, essentially, like, I wasn't their type. Kind of understanding that I wasn't their type, that they were looking at other people. And again, you're trying to understand who you are. Or, it's like coming of age, high school kind of times, trying to be the cool kid, trying to have fun, not take things too like internally too much. But again, like having little bits of and it affecting you in certain ways.
Yeah. And I remember once we became closer friends, you had mentioned to me how there was this guy we know, and like he's legit your skin tone, but like he would mock you and like call you, like he called you darky.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that vividly. It was in a gym class. I don't remember what it was. We were both in front of the mirror doing something like for gym, and just making a comment. First of all, saying a comment about, oh, I'm not as dark as you. You're darker than me. You're darky. Da da da. And then just kind of thinking to myself, like, the blink, 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 like looking in the mirror, like. I was like, is this what I'm seeing? Because I'm looking in the mirror and it's like, we literally look the exact same skin tone. Like, we have the same skin tone. Like, it was just so bizarre to me because it was like, you're basically telling me that our skin tone. Yeah. We look, not that we look the same, but we had the same skin tone. You're making fun of my skin tone. So wait, are you not taking in that's what you look like too? Like, I don't get it. It was so weird. But again, what kind of effect is that gonna have on me?
Yeah.
Again, I try to be positive, so it's just like, okay. But you go home and you internalize that again, and it's just like, wow, like this is someone that looks like me and is making these kind of comments. And of course, people too that you may have had crushes on that are like, oh wow, da, da, da. But then they're the same guys who are making comments with the light skin person. They're still making those kind of really negative, terrible comments.
Yeah.
So yeah, it absolutely affects how you view yourself. And of course there were like even times with like certain family members where they'd make comments as well about being fair skinned and whatnot. So yeah, this is just how it was like kind of in a way taking a little bit of effect in how I viewed myself, and but it really, like, where the nail in the coffin was going to university, and that was when I really internalized and really came to this conclusion that I was not desired by black men at all. And this was because there was a particular team at the university that has said to people, like this was said verbatim, that they were not interested in black women, particularly dark-skinned women. And like they were kind of seen like as the elite group of men. Like they were black men themselves. So they were the elite group of men who would often date outside of their race. And just hearing those kind of comments, you try to put up a front to protect your ego, to protect your self-confidence, and kind of being like, oh, whatever. Again, no, that's hurtful. You're just like, wow. So you don't even have a good reason. You're just saying you do not want to date someone who looks like you. You want to date someone outside of your race, and you're saying this it's just like, it's weird to say, and it's just like harmful. And I remember all the time having conversations with girls at uni and just being like, oh, that's so problematic, da da da. But then trying to seek validation from them too. It was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. But because of this, it really caused me to, I felt like because I was being rejected, I felt rejected. If I was interested in one of them and just like didn't pan, whatever. I was putting up serious walls. It's like, feeling rejected, so I'm gonna reject you. I'm gonna put a wall up. I'm not interested in black men then. Nope, I don't want anything to do with them. Like I really and truly, I remember I was rereading some of my old journal entries like back in 2012, and I literally wrote in them saying to God, as you know, I am sick and tired of black men.
Dang.
Like, that was the effect that it had on me. Like their words and their comments and everything. Like, it really had effect on me. That was really interesting.
And I remember like around this time, so university days, this is when we became closer friends. And like you would express like this preference to me, and like I would kind of poke at it, and I'd be like, but girl, like, why are you only interested in like non-black men? Like why are like non-black men placed in a pedestal? Like I kind of like got the hint that it was deeper than just, oh, I just like.
I like what I like.
Yeah,
That's my preference.
I was like, it's a bit deeper than that, but we jokingly poked at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say to her, I'm like, I'm attracted to all men, or all races, all men. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from, because truly, it didn't matter. It really didn't. But I remember I would say, oh, I'm interested in who's interested in me. Like, they're not interested in me, so whatever. Again, I felt rejected, so I was going to reject them. I was like, no. Like, they're no longer on my radar at all. And then on top of that, I would also get attention. I would get more attention from men outside of my race. So that was, I was just checking it up to like, well, I'm being desired by them. So, okay, I'm going to go where I'm desired.
Yeah.
But then it was also coming to a realization that sometimes these men who were outside of my race were desiring to just fetishize me as well. And that's a whole other problem. That's what.
That's this. Remember, this is very lighthearted.
This is more lighthearted.
But like, remember, like when you would like talk to a non-black guy and like he would pull out like the infamous R&B hip hop mixtape to like show you down with the culture. Like, you already know it's like it's laden with "Juicy" by Biggie, "Yeah" by Usher, and some Sean Paul. Like some sort of Shonda Paul was on there. Get Busy probably.
Honestly, and then you just like.
Here we go!
Like, you're just rolling your eyes, we're like, oh, okay. But you're just like, you're really trying to prove you're down, right? You're down with it, get down, okay. But yeah, so it was kind of realizing like, okay, well, if it is outside of my race, like I have to make sure that they're not just trying to fetishize me and use me for that. No, absolutely not. This was also the time where I became obsessed with interracial relationships. I would watch them on YouTube all the time. Oh man, this is so embarrassing. But this was the point that I had gotten to where I, again, felt so rejected by my own race that I was like, whatever. I am going to, I just was obsessed with interracial relationships because it was different. Like, it was like what I desired essentially at that time. I desired to be desired by someone who wanted me. And seeing that in couples on YouTube or whatever, like, I feel like too, this was a time where it was like also prevalent. Like, a lot of it was happening on YouTube a lot at that time too.
People were monetizing off of their
relationships. They certainly were monetizing off of their interracial relationships.
I remember, this is just joking as well, but like, YouTube would be exposing you when I come to your house. Yeah,
because YouTube would then basically show what your
recommendation.
Yeah, and then you be like, Debbie, really? And I'd just be like, mind your business. You don't understand the internal turmoil. You don't get it. But yeah, and then essentially it would lead to me wanting having mixed children, and that was because like I don't want my children potentially to deal with what I had to deal with growing up. But and then I got to a point where I did realize I wanted my children to look like me and not just like have my features, but my skin tone, which we will kind of get into more of. But yeah, I wanted my children to look like me. So it's like wanting that desire of an interracial family and children and all of that, and then kind of getting to a point where it's like, well, I want my child to look like me, so then, let me just go for someone who's not black, but maybe is
a darker, like, person of color.
Of color, or something. Like, oof, the insecurities were deeply rooted. It was bad.
And honestly, girl, don't even be ashamed of this.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of you to even, this is relatable. So, I'm very proud of you. But yeah, like, when did you realize that your preference was actually rooted in insecurity?
Yeah, I remember one time, I think we went to a party at this one point, and I remember seeing two of these black girls who had gone to our high school. They were my skin tone, if not one, like even a bit darker. And I remember them saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Your skin tone is so beautiful." Da da da. But then seeing that they had bleached their skin, and you could tell like they were starting to get lighter. And I just remember having so much compassion for them and just feeling so sad for them, because regardless of how I felt and like, feeling a way about being a dark-skinned female, one thing I knew I was never going to do was like, I was never going to bleach my skin, because that was, to me, that was just clear self-loathing, self-hate. Like, I don't know, that was something I was never going to do. And I just remember my mom, like, just even in the Christian way, saying, like, that's changing who God made you to be. This is what you're supposed to be. Like, don't change that. So I just remember them saying that, but then seeing that their skin tone had changed and just feeling like heartbroken for them. Because like they were younger than me, and just like, wow, like that's so sad that you feel led to do this. Like that you've come to this point, but you're complimenting me on mine. It's like, well, why didn't you just
like me and you are one and the same. Like
what? Like it's crazy. And just feeling sad for them, but then also recognizing, like, I want to help them, but then I was like, dang, but I think I have to do some internal work for myself. Like I gotta do work for me. I have to take a look at, like, I may not have done that, but I have my own issues that I have to deal with.
Like, put your oxygen mask on first before you put on someone else's.
Yes. Oh, the flight again. Yes. on the plane.
We're craving travel.
Clearly, all the plane analogies. No, I'm real. I love that. I have to literally put the oxygen on for myself first before I can even help somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, and you want... It's just kind of thinking like, wow, I want you to be confident in yourself. I want you to be confident in what you look like. But then I'm saying this, and then I want children, like, still in the bad mindset, wanting children that were, that were mixed, or, you know,
not 100% black, like,
you know, or wanting to, like, having this preference outside of my race because of insecurities. So that was kind of a beginning kind of check for me. Then that then led to me thinking, I don't want my children to ever come to a point where they think that they need to bleach their skin. I don't ever want my child to ever, that should never even cross your mind. So what kind of work, like, you know, again, this is just like the beginning of having these thoughts of, okay, changes need to be made. Also, this was a time in society where it was being encouraged, not being encouraged, but like Lupita, the actress, was her fame was rising and everything, and she was, it was just so nice to see, like, kind of feel represented by a beautiful dark-skinned woman. Like, she just carried herself so elegantly. She was just such a great actress. I just loved her, and so just seeing that representation gave me honestly a boost of confidence. Yeah. Right. Like it made me. I was like, wow. This, like, it just goes to show that representation does matter. Yeah. Because I saw that and I was like, wow, I love that she's being represented in this way, and I want to be confident in myself in this way. I want to carry myself in this way. I want to be seen in this way, you know?
And even like that even just goes to show representation matters at any age. Because it matters as a child, of course, like black dolls or whatever. Yeah. But like even as an adult, that still affected you positively. Yeah. You know, that still affected you positively.
Exactly. So. And also on social media too, I feel like it was a lot of encouragement where it was like just having representation of more dark-skinned women in media and everything. So there was a lot of this encouragement and push for this, which then helped me grow my confidence, essentially. And then it was also kind of coming to a realization that I couldn't put all black men or categorize them in this way, because I just remember there would be conversations where you would hear or whatever about, you know, certain black men making comments about black women, oh, they can't wear this color tone of lipstick, or just making all kinds of negative comments, and then kind of just thinking to myself, like, that's a you problem. That's not my problem. I can't, like, at what point am I going to stop allowing the comments of other people to lead the direction of my life? Like, I can't allow this to keep happening anymore. And kind of coming before God and being like, God, I need healing. I need healing. And then also recognizing that a lot of these men that would make these comments also had their own insecurities and pain. Because I remember in uni, one of these black men had said that they would never date a dark-skinned woman, or black women specifically, because when he was younger and showed interest in them, they rejected him. So it was mocked him. And so it was like a reversal of what I had experienced. So it was kind of like really thinking and internalizing and like, wow, this that shouldn't be the reason. I should not be picking somebody based off my insecurities and based off of my rejection. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, and even like to even interject, like I know someone close to me, like who literally said out of their mouth, like this particular race, like disrespected me my whole life, so I date their daughters to spite them.
Wow.
And dang, that's a horrible place to be in. Like I'm not
That's
judging that
healthy.
person at all,
No.
like because I don't know their experiences, and I'm in no way saying, okay, so just relax. Like I'm in no way saying like, oh, all interracial relationships are based off of spite or insecurity. Not at all. Like the man who raised me is white. Like
Yeah.
it's not that at all. That's also giving like I have one black friend when I say that. But
Yeah. But no, I know what you're saying.
But, like,
I
but-
know what you're saying.
the point, I'm not trying to say, oh, it's all rooted in insecurity.
We're
But
just
we're
saying
acknowledging
it-
that
exactly.
insecurities, unchecked, can literally
They
breed
bad
Yeah.
a really bad mindset.
yeah.
They breed bad preferences. Like absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, that's really sad, right? So it's kind of like understanding, like, wow, I can't speak for all men, and I can't allow all men of a certain race that look like me. I can't allow certain men's preferences to affect my life.
Yeah.
I really can't, because I can't group everybody in that same way, and understanding, having the compassion that some of them have gone through things as well. And also too, I was also getting into a place where I was really loving and growing into loving my culture, because unfortunately as well, taking a look back, for some reason growing up, there was like this kind of like being African was kind of mocked. Like there was like a shame in being African. You kind of keep it on the low, you know.
Yeah.
Like
honestly, I feel like the only like black culture that was like really elevated was being Jamaican.
yeah,
To be honest.
yeah,
Like
at points,
yeah,
yeah,
we
absolutely.
love our Jamaicans, but like
Yeah, but like, you know, it was just
yeah.
it was like, I don't know, for some reason it was like I didn't want to share that, because you would hear comments or you would hear things that people would say, white people, black people, like you would just hear comments.
Yeah.
So, you know, but again, I was growing into developing and just loving who I was, and it wasn't as if my parents didn't raise me to love where I came from. They did, but if your parents say one thing and you're going outside and the world says another thing, you're going to be there. It's conflict there.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, but I was maturing and I was growing into loving my culture, and then I eventually got to a point where it's like, I want to be with someone who is of the same culture as me, who looks like me, who who has the understanding of the same similar jokes. Like as a Nigerian, there's like certain things that you say and do and jokes that are just like, I want to share that with somebody. I just want to, have same cultural worldview.
Yeah.
And just raise children to be I wanted the opposite for my future than what I had.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And kind of getting to that point. But it took a lot of like realization, conversations with you and different friends, and then also really coming before God and recognizing that I was in a hurt place and I needed healing in that area. And until I had healing in that area, I needed to be healed. I needed to be confident in who I was. I needed to let go of those things and let God truly make that change in my heart in order for me. It's like a restriction. It's like a restriction. Like I'm intentionally choosing not to be with certain races because of my own rejection. Like let me be it's shackles. Like let me be free from that. And I think also too, it was interesting in our conversations, just like the difference in growing up and how you were more immersed in like Black culture, like the certain kind of movies, growing up watching, and music. While because I grew up in a Christian home, it was very, and like I said, very religious and strict, where I wasn't always allowed to watch those things, like BET only like whenever there was a deal on having the extra channels and everything, and then watching that then. But
I did grow up with that. First of all, I lived majority of my life with Bajan grandparents in the same household as me, so that was like ingrained in me, that culture. Black movies, Black media. My mom was intentional about that. Black books, Black dolls, Black Beanie Babies, like very much ingrained. Like you be proud of who you are,
absolutely,
and like you're not gonna be out here shucking and driving. So
and it's not to say that as if like my parents didn't. Again, it's not like they didn't want to immerse me in the own culture. It's like they were immigrants, so that wasn't a priority for them. Like of course, I remember growing up and my mom telling me at work or my dad at work, like, racial, things happening and everything. But their focus was more like focusing on God and like, at times being kind of religious about it. So those were the things that were like that, like kind of realizing, okay, I just didn't even have, because I believe like if you like have that representation in your children's life from early on, that is going to, I think it benefits your child, to have this encouragement to see that like, no, you're beautiful. Like this is good. Like here's representation, right? So yeah. And, essentially like I just came to a point where I realized it was super important for me. I had to do the internal work in myself, and understand why I liked what I liked. And I'm just saying this like, to anyone who, and I want to be before I go into this, I want to be very, very clear. I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that there's anything wrong with being in interracial relationships or anything of that sort. Not at all. Like if if you're in one, or if you fall for someone who's outside of your race, like beautiful, that's wonderful, good for you. I'm only saying that because of my own personal experience and my own insecurities and rejection, that I knew that I had preferences based off of that. So if I am, it's possible for someone else to. And it's like, let's check those kind of things, But yeah, just coming to a point of, why do I like what I like? Is it because that's truly all I know? Or again, is this coming from a place of insecurity? Is this healthy? What are my motives, honestly? And coming to God and crying out to him and being like, God, help me to see myself the way you do. Help me to see the blind spots that I'm not realizing. And I just don't want my insecurities to fuel my preferences anymore. I don't want that to be the case. And then on top of that, you can't help this, like, you can see the culture's effect as well on people, right? Like, just talking about why people bleach and everything. So many different cultures. Like, and
bleaching transcends like all POC, I feel like all people of color, honestly,
big time. It's like always there's this weird
epidemic.
Like there's this weird desire to want to be a lighter, different version of yourself, and it's just like it's unfortunate that colorism is legit in almost in every culture, right? There's this weird, creepy, and gross desire to try and become like a lighter, better version of yourself. And this is embraced and celebrated in that culture sometimes.
And we literally like recently had a conversation with a friend who is Latino, and they were just like, because my where my family comes from, we favor more indigenous. A country that's also like a Latino country that's more European favoring, we've experienced that they look down on us, and obviously we can't speak to that. We're Black, but we can understand like their experiences from what they shared from us. And it's like, wow, this literally takes place
the colorism is prevalent in many cultures.
In Africa and the Caribbean too. Like,
oh my gosh, the amount of like the bleaching that happens there, like that, it's so sad. Because it then creates a self-loathing, right? Because like I mentioned, like the girls that I knew or the people that I saw that were bleaching their skin, it was just like, wow. To get to that point, what kind of what have you gone through to get to that point? That is, man, it's sad. It's so incredibly sad. And yeah, so basically, just to kind of finalize with like these final notes, like please, like I beg, love the skin you're in. And I'm saying this as someone who didn't always feel that way. Now I'm grateful for where God has brought me, where I am confident in who I am. I'm confident in my dark skin. I'm confident being a Black female, and being a woman of God, that I can be hopefully an encouragement to other women and other young girls who may feel a way about their skin tone. Like, I'm grateful that I can be used in this way, and to encourage people to recognize, like, you are beautiful exactly the way you were created. You are precious and fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, that verse is often said so often, and kind of like as a cliche, and you're just like, yeah. And like, I remember hearing that and being like, yeah, whatever. But taking the time to really recognize God makes no mistakes. Like, when you were created, He doesn't. So let me understand that society is telling me one thing, but God is telling me a different thing. And the reality of this, I can't allow society to rule the decisions that I make in my life. And again, very clear, we don't want to we don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that we're saying that it's incorrect or it's wrong to date outside of your race. Not in the slightest.
No.
It's just also coming to realization where you hear comments from people saying, oh, I want to have mixed children. Oh, I want to have this. And they're not in a relationship with someone from a different race.
Yeah.
They're just desiring that. And then because of that, they're looking for someone that can help them get that. And it's just, that's where it's like,
It's pink flaggish a bit. I won't even.
Big time.
It's pink flaggish.
It's concerning a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you want that? What is, search your heart and kind of really recognize where are your preferences actually coming from. That's all we're simply saying.
Because your child, regardless, is going to be beautiful, whether it's fully your race, biracial, a quarter this, a quarter that. So, like, like I want you, like, we need to understand that regardless of who you have a child with or whatever. And listen, we can't tell people what to do. We're just speaking on our opinion.
Of course.
Whoever you have a child with, your child's going to be beautiful. That's the whole point of it, no matter the race. But, like, it is a bit, like, it's a bit pink flaggish when, like, you try to either dilute your race or, like,
when you just
spice.
when you're just making
Like,
those kind of comments, it's like, it's weird. And don't get me wrong, I get that people have preferences because genuinely they love different cultures or they want, like, I absolutely get
For
that.
sure.
I'm not speaking against that. I'm simply speaking from a place where I understood my insecurities and then the work, the healing, the reflection that I had to do to be like, okay, I don't want that to be the case anymore. Like, I am open to what God has for me, and but like now I know that I want, like I said, like someone who has similar cultural background and beliefs as me. So yeah, that's basically, I guess, the end of this episode in terms of like the experiences that I had, that you shared, and kind of what we're just simply saying, like, check those preferences. Like, I understand, like, a lot of the things that we've seen in media, even up until today, a lot of these preferences often are coming from places of insecurities. I really, truly believe that. And I say that because I remember, like, I've experienced that, right? So, so yeah, it's like, do the internal work in yourself to really grow in loving who you are, loving who you've been created to be, and leading with wisdom and with love in the decisions that you make and the things that you do in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Dang, girl. I'm very proud of you, honestly. It's a lot to be vulnerable on camera, so I'm very proud of you for sharing this. And before we go, we want to leave you with 3 scriptures. So the first one being Galatians 3:28. So there's neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, and there is no male or female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. We're all one in Christ Jesus, white to black, like across the spectrum. Yeah. So it's just like, because I know God says this, I'm not about to live my life in division like that. So
absolutely.
That's just one reminder. The second one, Ephesians 2:10, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Beforehand, before we even knew who we were, he knew he was going to create us to be from where we're from, to look the way we look like for his work, for his glory. So I'm rejoicing in that. We're celebrating that.
Yeah, celebrate those differences. Like, it's beautiful. Like, like, I think that's a big part of, like, even traveling. It's just going to different places, different cultures, and just celebrating the differences that we have and similarities and let's celebrate those things. Those things are beautiful. Honestly. It's the self-hate, the self-loathing, the wickedness that is being spewed around. The comments that are being made, that those are the things that need to get checked. Honestly. Yeah. And the final one is Psalm 139:14, which Debbie had referenced early, but I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. Like, his works are so wonderful that he literally created me to be born in Canada of Bajan descent people, African American. His works are so wonderful. He created you to be born in Nigeria, to come here for such a time as this. Absolutely. That's worthy to be celebrated. Absolutely. And I just love even the end of, like, the second part of that verse. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. Like, coming to a point where it's like, now my soul knows this. I know that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Not that I just hear it. It's not just head knowledge. It's now heart knowledge. Now it's my soul knows this now. So yeah, that was lovely. That was lovely. This was so great. Honestly, this is like one of my favorite conversations. And I'm so, like I said, so proud of you to open up about this, to share your experience. And I'm glad that you guys are listening in and joining us in this conversation. Leave your feedback below in the comments if you're on YouTube. Like, come on. or send us a message on Instagram. Like leave a
yeah.
message and let us know what you think about this episode, your experiences, because I know there are many other people who share similar experiences in regards to this. So let us know what you think, and about any previous episode as well. We love to hear the feedback and get a good conversation going.
Yeah, follow us at In the Midst Pod on Instagram. Like we said in the beginning, you can find us anywhere that you listen to the podcast. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Yes, take care, guys. Bye.